energeticcity.ca. This is the Community Roundup brought to you by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. I am here with CC Brooks, who recently released a new song last Friday called Send Me a Song, also known as Troubadour's Prayer.
Correct.
What went behind the song? And well, let's start with the reception since it's released last Friday. It's been almost a week. How has the community, how have people reacted to the song?
I think it's been a really good response. This is the second single off of a trilogy that I recorded last fall in Nashville. So the first song came out and the Moose got that covered, and it was called Springtime in Nashville. This is kind of an extension of that. Both of these songs represent a lyric that is spoken to from a narrative. It's from a songwriter's point of view. And this one, the reason I call it Troubadour's Prayer is it's basically, if you read the lyric, it is a songwriter asking for some help to create a great song, which is every songwriter's, every time they pick up a guitar, believe it or not, there's that fear that maybe there's no more songs left. You know, and you always go, Lord, you know, won't you send me a song? And so this song was one that I always used to play before, whenever I started a set. It was a good warm-up, and it kind of set the tone, and it was my kind of ode to the song God saying, you know, give me the strength to do a good job here. So I finally got a chance to record it, and it's lovely, it's short, it's traditional country, which I'm a big fan of, and all this trilogy is a traditional country vibe. It was recorded in a very iconic traditional country studio in Franklin, Tennessee, with some iconic players. And I'd love to name drop a little bit. Like I have the guitar player, fiddle player from Alabama. I have the keyboard player from Brooks and Dunn. I have a steel player who's played with everybody. Just amazing. I'm so happy to have these musicians on the track. Great producer. And sometimes when you record, it doesn't come out the way you planned. It's a song, and it's a good song, but once you give it to those artists, they listen to it, they take it, they interpret it, and sometimes that your song can get lost, and it's just not what you expected. This is exactly what I expected, so I'm real excited.
Yeah, and it could definitely be different from when you actually wrote the song to then it coming out and being produced, right? Because there's so many people around you helping out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a group of 10, 12 people, but with all the musicians and the producers and the engineers, and all of a sudden, it just starts taking on a life of its own. And once again, I've got tracks that I haven't ever released because as much as it's a good song, it's not a song that I feel represents me. It might be good for somebody else. This body of work is really me. And it's more my traditional country where I do write contemporary stuff as well. But this has really got this really great vibe to it. So I'm excited for people to hear it.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you want to check it out, make sure you go wherever you get your music, Spotify, Apple Music. It sounds like this song was an inspiration for you when you would hit the stage. And I want to know, what was the inspiration behind the song? Like, how did you come up with this concept?
It really just was that process of writing songs, and you go through these. There's some great memes about musicians, and it's like they show the success, and then they show where the person learned their craft, and then this big space in the middle that is crippling self-doubt. Because really, the whole concept of writing is no different than when someone paints or any art form. You're really sharing a big part of yourself. You're exposing yourself. You're going out there going, what do you think? It's not just sitting somewhere. I'm not in a basement playing for myself. Sending this out to the world, and so the hope. There's always that hope. There's always that hope that it's going to be well received. That you were right, that your perception of it, I mean, they're like my children, right? I get a new one that's like, this is the cutest one ever, and then, and you go, that old song, don't listen to that one, listen to this new one. Forget, delete that off your Spotify playlist. I just want you to listen to this. So, and then you get a new one, and so it's just a constant, no matter how many times you do it. And I've spoken to people that have written songs for people like Keith Urban and others, and they're no different. They're sitting down going, okay, You know, how can I recreate this? How can I reinvent this? How can I make it happen? So this really was that, you know, that what was in the back of my mind every time I picked up my guitar. It's I think the first line, it says, "I don't need diamonds and silver, and money never lasted that long. All I ask of you is 3 minutes of gold. Oh Lord, won't you send me a song?" And it is true. You know, it's I guarantee you, all the great songwriters of our time. What would the Eagles give up to write another Hotel California?
Oh yeah,
What
100%.
would they give up?
And they probably tried.
Well, they're trying.
Yeah, they're trying.
They're songwriters.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does, the muse can dry up on you, and all of a sudden you don't have what it takes. Every artist has their time. Some extend it. Some recreate themselves.
Yeah.
Some, you know, but that's the whole thing. Is, you know, don't let me be out.
Yeah.
Give me one more.
And like, if an artist has a song or an album out, that doesn't mean that's the only music they have. It just hasn't been released to the public, which is what you're saying. You've probably written a bunch of songs. You've probably recorded some, I'm assuming, that you haven't maybe released to the public, right? Like that. Now I want to know, I'm very curious, you know, you have been in music since you were young. You played piano, you play drums, you play guitar, you sing, so you're heavily involved in music. So my assumption is that obviously you've been writing since you were very young.
Yeah.
How many songs approximately do you think you've written in total? Yeah.
I think I've probably written over 100 songs.
Oh wow.
I have 40 that I have on a list that I play at any given time. I've recorded probably 50 of those, different genres and whatnot. The body work that I have right now under CC Brooks, which was a complete reinvention from being the drummer to being the guitar player. So I have about a dozen tracks that you can hear. I have another 10 that are demoed that I play live that still haven't seen that thing. And probably right now in my brain, I've got about 5 new ideas that are waiting for some sort of synapse spark, something to occur, a late night, or just the right amount of coffee or Jägermeister, whatever, and so then it comes. So right now, I've got this. I'm cultivating these kind of up rock honky tonk songs. I've got a whole body of modern country that I worked with a local guy, Walker Tompkins. Great producer, great songwriter, definitely newer country sound, and that's completely polar to what I'm doing here. So right now, it's a constant swirl, and it's kind of like bingo balls. They're going around, and then finally one pops out, and then you go, oh, we're working on this one now. And then we'll cultivate that, I'll play it live, we see how it feels. What most people don't understand is the time this takes. The songs you're hearing now were songs I wrote 3 years ago. I recorded a year ago. It took a year.
That's a big process.
It takes a year.
Yeah.
So you go, and right now I'm working on the next batch, which will be recorded in the spring, which you will hear next year. So it's you're constantly filling the well, making sure that you've got new product, and it's just like a muscle too. You got to keep using it, so it gets vibrant, and then you get a little rusty, and then you got to walk away from it and go, I don't want to do this anymore, and go do something else, go fishing, go hunting, and then you come back and go, got to get back to the guitar.
Well, it's cool that you have your process, and I mean, with how involved you've been in music your whole life. Obviously, you've been able to work through that process and still stay inspired, because as a songwriter, writer's block is definitely a thing, right? So you have to get that inspiration. As we wind down here, it's CC Brooks. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Moose FM and energeticcity.ca office. My last question, I just want to go back to Nashville and all those people that helped you produce this song specifically, or the series of songs. How did you meet them? Like, I'm from my understanding, you went down to Nashville when you were in your 30s. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or your 30s, and then you got inspiration there, and you've been going back ever since. Have you built relationships there when you're there, or like, how did that work? How did you get those relationships essentially?
Well, Nashville is a relationship town, and people go there. I'll use Keith Urban as an example. A great guy. He said, Nashville's a 10-year town, and even someone as good as Keith Urban, it took him 10 years before he became a part of the fiber of the culture of Nashville. I met Larry Rogers through a very good friend of mine in Ontario who was down visiting. Like I said, I was down there about a decade ago, did a couple albums with a band. I was with Dear John at the time, had a great time, brought my wife down. She fell in love with the place, instantly found a realtor, and within a year we had a home there. So we started traveling down there more frequently, and our friends were there. They happened to know this gentleman, Larry Rogers, who's, if you Google him, he's called The Blade. He used to do.
That's a great name.
Yeah, Larry the Blade Rogers.
I love that.
Very interesting how he got the name. It wasn't as nefarious as you think. He was able to cut pieces of 24-inch tape out for editing purposes really fast back when that's how you had to do it.
Oh, really?
So, and here's a man who's done Garth Brooks' demos. He has got gold albums from George Strait on his wall. He's in his 80s. He's retired, and we just started becoming friends. And I said, "Would you come out of retirement and do my songs?" Because I just wanted to do it in the studio where everybody's played, and it had a feel to it, and we used to just go there and visit. And over time, he said, "You bet." So this time, he assembled his team, and yes, and as time goes on, when you live in Nashville, you spend time there, you start going to the shows, you start seeing the people. It's not that big of a town. The music industry in general, the Canadian music scene isn't that big. You'll notice that it's a small, tight-knit group. So yes, I believe that in order for artists to be successful, they need to surround themselves with the communities of people. We have a great one here in Fort St. John. We have the musicians support each other. The attitude is not that somebody else's success is taking away from your success. The idea is you want everyone to be successful.
Exactly.
And be a part of it. Don't be a part of it. Contribute. Be a fan. Be an artist. We have this fabulous group of people that I get to work with. Right now, we're doing some benefit work for the Legion. Every 2 weeks, we have an open mic there, raise money for a very good cause, and a great group of musicians come out. We all share our music. We all have a good time. People of various skill levels. So yes, a long-winded answer. This business is all about community, and when you see somebody's success, you know that in the background there was a group of people that fostered that. Nobody has done it on their own.
That's so awesome to hear, and to almost like a behind the scenes of the music industry, and to hear it in Fort St. John. That's awesome, because then you guys can support each other. That's exactly what you guys are doing in the music community, which is absolutely awesome. Again, thank you so much. The last thing I want to say, so the last song just got released on Friday. You got another song coming out in a couple months.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that one?
That one's, The Bridges I've Burned. Once again, very traditional country song. I always post the lyrics before I post the song.
Okay.
If you go on my Facebook page under CC Brooks, you'll see the lyrics to this song, to Send Me a Song. I think it's important. Country music is very much about lyric and melody. Once again, Springtime in Nashville is the same thing. It's not hard to understand what the song's about. Send Me a Song, the same thing. And Bridges I've Burned is a very, once again, very sobering song. Ironically, when you see the lyrics, you'll get it. So yes, if you want to get more of this music, of course, it is on all the platforms. If you want to, just go to my website, which is ccbrooks.country. That way you can go pick the music, and then you can pick the platform that it's on, whichever one you prefer. You can also leave me a message there so I can stay in touch with you. And the usual platforms. I'm on Facebook all the time and letting people know where we're playing and the songs that are coming out. And of course, we always have the support of the Moose for local artists. I get a call once a week, someone saying, "I'm here. I hear you on the radio." And as an artist, it doesn't matter how many times it happens. There's just something about driving in your car and hearing your song and thinking about the people that are hearing it. So I really appreciate the Moose's support. It means the world to a independent artist to get plays.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's so awesome that, we have the local radio station with Moose to be able to do that. And also so many organizations helping out with events and giving a platform for artists in Fort St. John to perform as well, which
Absolutely.
is just so awesome that
very thriving.
Yeah, exactly. And it's only going to grow and get bigger, which is so awesome.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks, brother.
Craig, CC Brooks. Make sure you check out his music. Like you said, you can check him out on Facebook. CC Brooks
Dog
Country. You can also get his music Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you're listening to your music. I am Trey Lopashinsky. This is the Community Roundup brought to you by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.